Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to episode 14 of the Inside Out Effect podcast. I'm your host, as usual, Stephen Jakes, and I'm a DTO specialist, a therapist, a neuro reboot technician, and also, I'm going to add it this week, I'm a music producer of house music, and I've just released my latest track, Sunset Beats, so go and have a listen to that. Shameless plug, but that's me. And to my left, or to my right, depending on what side of the room you're sitting or which side of the armchair you're in, I have the glittery and the sparkly Jonathan Shaw.
The glittery and the sparkly, that's a reference to Saturday, isn't it? Because he made me glitter my face, basically, when we went to a rock festival.
So Jonathan, yeah, I did. Well, I didn't.
No, you didn't. No, somebody else did, who will remain nameless.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, he thought it was very, very fun.
So I've got the glittery and the sparkly Jonathan today, and he is author of the book. He's the creator of the DTO system, and he's also a therapist, and he is an author of the book Decoding Pain: The Emotional Blueprint to Healing Chronic Pain. And so hello, Jonathan.
Hello,
right? How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. It's a beautiful, beautiful day.
It is a nice day, isn't it? And we're going to go out and enjoy the lovely seaside town of Leigh later, hopefully.
Yeah, we are. We're going to go down, have a little chill out and relax.
Yeah, it'd be really good. But before we start, I just would like to ask, any of you listeners, really, that if you're listening to this on YouTube, then please like it, share it, subscribe to our podcast. So we're regularly doing podcasts, and by subscribing it and liking it, it does do something to the algorithm on YouTube, and it just means more people get to hear our information that we discuss and impart on healing a whole range of different types of illnesses, ailments, and mental health issues. And also, if you're on Facebook, please do the same. And obviously, you can go to our Facebook page, which is at Inside Out Effect.
Yep.
And also, we also have our website. Which is inside-outeffect.co.uk.
That's correct.
And so, have you been doing anything like that recently? You want to add
Any people, clients, what things?
No. What have you done to the website?
I've done to the website. No, I've added your new photos to the website. Yeah. So we're very excited to announce that Stephen has a new photo on the website. For those who've been to the website and seen his photo, you'll know that he did look a little bit like an axe murderer, and we really wanted to show him in his true light. He doesn't look like an axe murderer anymore, thankfully. That was a very, very old photo.
I had so much stick for that.
Yes,
it all happened yesterday on my Facebook page.
You genuinely look like an axe murderer, so that's...
I'm not an axe murderer.
No, I know, you would... Okay, I get
I've never been an axe murderer.
Ronald McDonald's not really a clown, but he's still...
To me, he is.
To you, he is, alright, fair enough. But they call him Running Beans, but he hasn't been on the track 3 times, have they? But
I can't believe Ronald McDonald's not a clown. That's just like heartbreaking.
It's heartbreaking, isn't it?
For anyone under the age of 10, just to erase that last comment.
Just erase that, yeah, you didn't hear that. But no, you did look like an axe murderer, so that's the problem. So he now looks like a happy, relaxed, chilled out guy. So if anyone did see his photo before and you now see the new photo, you know what we're talking about.
It is amazing though to look at it. I mean, we had a couple of people here with just beside dog dressing. There's a photo of me on the side from about a year and a half ago on holiday with my son.
Yeah.
And the woman said, "Is that your dad?" So I mean, it looks like your dad. So that's how much this whole the details. Not only does it change your internal state, but actually
it changes the way you look.
Change the way you look.
You actually become younger.
Yeah.
You become you
absolutely.
You look healthier.
Yeah.
Your skin glows.
Yeah.
You people do change quite dramatically.
Yeah.
Over a period of time, but almost instantaneously. Sometimes you'll shift something special, big in them, and their whole face will just change.
Yeah, it's like a holographic thing. It makes me wonder what this place is that we live in. But anyway, don't want to get into that too much because otherwise we'll open up a can of worms. But So anyway, so if you are obviously listening, please obviously reach out to anybody you can with our information.
And if anyone has any questions or comments and they want to know something specific or they want us to talk about something specific, then go to our Facebook page, leave a comment, a question on the Facebook page, or make a question on the YouTube channel, and we will do our best to answer it in a future podcast.
Yes, great. So I know that we've had a lot of people contact us from America, Australia, Malaysia, other people that listen to it. So I know this is starting to get out on a more of a global scale. So it's really, really great because the information that we have here is groundbreaking, it's new, and unfortunately it works. Yes, that's the problem. Yes. It's not one of the what we do actually works, and it's not just a coping, managing, sustaining system, and it's not just basically keeping people stuck with their problem where they're having to do something for 5 years and not really, just so they don't get any worse. This actually resolves the problem. So anyway, let's get on with it. Episode 14. So Jonathan, how you been? How's your week been? Well, it's been about 2 weeks again since we've done the last podcast.
Yep.
So ultimately the question is what you've been up to apart from putting glitter on your face?
No, it's basically I've been putting lots of glitter on my face. I've literally been trying to find glitter everywhere I go now. It just can't get rid of it. What I've been up to? I had a good couple of weeks. Been very, very busy, super busy. Treated lots of clients. Had one guy come to me and he's come to me because of a relationship breakdown and he's very unhappy and I saw him the other day and part of it went back to his father who tragically passed away when he was 5 and he'd never really healed that scenario. It was a tragic scenario, but literally within about 10 minutes the abandonment that he felt had just vanished from his father. So that when we came back to deal with the relationship, he didn't feel the intenseness about the relationship anymore. So it was literally coming back from the abandonment issue he felt around his father, not so much the relationship. And yes, he still loved his ex, but it's not love that caused the problem. It's not love that's the negative part. It's the abandonment, the hurt, the betrayal, the injustice. So and once we took that out, he felt so much better and so much lighter. And literally, it didn't take very long to resolve that 30-year-old abandonment issue from his father.
It just goes back as well to what we say, and I say this to everybody, is that, and this is the problem with a lot of people, is they think they know what the problem is.
Yes.
But they don't know what the problem is, and because if you knew what the problem is, you'd be able to solve it. So if you still got the problem, then you don't know what the problem is. But ultimately as well is that it's something that can go back to a young age, or a situation can happen prior to that actually causes the problem that you're not aware of.
That's right, yeah. Well, the problem is people sometimes think they know what the problem is and they try and resolve that, but it never actually works.
Yeah.
Or they think they don't really know what the problem is and they don't know how to find it. So, or they think that the problem that they have can't be resolved. And sometimes the problem they do know what the problem is and it can be resolved. And sometimes what they think the problem is that can't be resolved is actually something else that can be resolved. Yeah. So there's lots of scenarios that's probably a bit complicated for people listening. I didn't mean to make it complicated.
Can you run that past me again one more time, please?
Yeah. No, I don't think I can. But often there's
such a misconception. He's making it up as he goes along. He's like...
That's what I've done most of my life, in fairness. That's 42 years of my life.
Oh, dear.
I've made most of it up. But no, a lot of people, they really... we saw someone give a talk the other night, didn't we?
Yeah.
And this we went to a...
Can we save this for a little bit later?
We will do later on, yeah. But there was this one particular lady on there, and she's a singer, and she wasn't supposed to be speaking about anything, but for some reason decided to speak about her depression. And she was telling the whole audience that you live with depression, you maintain and cope with it.
You can never get rid of it.
Never get rid of it.
It's all about coping and managing. Both you and I...
If that's not true, then we wouldn't have got rid of ours and other people.
Yeah, you and I just sat there and we threw our heads up in the air, looked at each other and got quite... Yeah, we got triggered by it.
We got quite angry about it, which we're covering today's anger.
Yeah.
Now, our anger didn't last very long, I will say that.
Mine didn't.
But mine didn't. Mine lasted all the way through the trip to Tesco's, if I'm really honest. And we'll cover that in a second.
Which is a supermarket, but
But I was just more angry that, she'd told an audience something incorrect just because she was going through it. That's what upset me. She'd embedded that in the other people who are probably suffering in that audience, and she really had no idea what she's talking about except for the fact that she was experiencing or had experienced depression. And that's a big problem, that people, when they experience something, they think they understand it, they think they know about it, and they think that gives them a right to talk about it, but actually all they really understand is how it feels.
Yeah, the symptom. That's
not the same thing. So having something, whatever it is, with the greatest respect to anyone out there, having something and experiencing is not the same as understanding it. Or knowing what causes it, or knowing what can be done about it. That's it. And then what happens is those people end up expressing to other people, and that leaves those other people stuck. Well,
funny enough, we had this conversation last week. Last week we were out, and I said to you, this is the one thing that really pisses me off.
Yeah.
There's, I don't get pissed off about much these days, but the one thing I get pissed off about is when people, especially on Facebook, telling people what anxiety is and what depression is and how you've got to live with it and how, what the symptoms are, and you got to be strong and get out, and all these memes that are on Facebook, which is so misleading. And it really does annoy me, because if you are in the impact of depression or anxiety or any type of trauma or anything, anything really. And you read that, the problem is that now nails it as a belief.
Yes.
And your belief now will then take precedence, and you're now not open to actually being aware that anxiety can be switched off, depression can be switched off. It's not a disease, it's a dis-ease, but it's not something that's perceived as a disease. And that's what really annoys me. And then pretty much that's what that woman was doing, the lady was doing the other night on the stage, and that's I think why we both reacted in the way we did.
Yeah, which leads nicely on to the subject of the podcast.
Yes.
Really,
I was just going to talk about the girl that I was working with, actually. She was very, really similar to you. Really, really similar. Well, she had a situation with her father. He was a bit of a criminal, and he kept out of prison.
Yeah.
And so her mum couldn't deal with it, and so she used to file her nails all the time.
Right.
And the house was a mess. And she didn't look after the child. She was just on her own. So she grew up feeling very, very on her own. She'd get palmed off from one house to another to be looked after. Her mum would just sit there filing her nails while this house was a complete tip, and it was embarrassing and all the rest of it. And her dad was in and out of prison. So she had a really pretty torrid childhood. And she had a massive issue about being abandoned.
Right.
And how her relationship was for the father, how she observed the father's relationship towards the mother, actually played out in all of her relationships sort of up until she's now coming to see me, in which I've switched a lot of it off.
Right.
But all of that was about abandonment. And when we went through and saw all of her issues that she's had with all of her relationships, all of her issues have been created by herself because she's attracted the person that's like her dad. So, not the nicest of people, etc., getting treated badly, being subjected to all sorts of stuff, and then being abandoned, or then creating an abandonment issue. And it was really funny because up until last week, I'd switched a lot of this stuff off, and she's gone from... She come to me, she didn't even know why she was coming to me, because I've been told to come and see you, you can sort me out. So I started, I just started where I needed to start, and over the last... And she comes and sees me twice a week, but I'm clearing lots and lots of big stuff up. So there's past relationships, there's just not knowing where she's going in her life, she feels stuck in her life, she don't know what's your job to do, etc., etc., etc. But anyway, so I did a real long session with her, and I cleared something massive up for her. So the next day, I texted her and said, "Look, how are you? How you doing? I got a message. I feel amazing. I feel brilliant. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to go have my nails done." Right now, she went and had her nails done, and the problem is that because her mother used to sit doing her nails as a child.
Oh right, it triggered her
badly.
Yeah.
So her nails have got to be done in a certain way, right? And the thing that used to... So it's just the sound of the nails, seeing the nails being filed and the sound of them reminds her of her mum.
Right.
And then she just gets really angry and really cross.
Yeah.
So anyway, I then get a message a little bit later on. I feel sick. I'm being sick. I feel she's actually physically being sick. She's throwing up and all the rest of it. Yeah. And I said, well, we'll deal with that next time. So when I asked her, I said, well, what triggered you? What happened? You was in a really, really good place. You went and had your nails done. Then you got really sick and ill. What's going on? And once I traced it back, it was literally the trigger of the nails being sounded went all the way back to her mum being abandoned, being palmed off to families, and the death of her father. So all of that stuff was being just from the filing of the nails.
Now, that's a great example.
And it triggered a whole trauma of her whole life.
Great example of a trigger. For those of you who don't really understand what a trigger is, that's a great example of a trigger of how a very simple, small thing, like just having your nails done, can trigger a hell of a lot of emotional response, and we don't realise it's happening. We don't know why it's happening because we don't think of those sort of things as being triggers.
Well, no, she said, well, I'm going to have to stop having my nails done because I think it's every time I do my nails, she blamed the shop, she blamed the bloke, she's blamed the way that they've done it.
Well, they blame the way they've done it. That's what people do.
It was because of that. But actually, when I got into it, and I think it took me an hour and 3/4 to clear it.
Right.
An hour and 3/4. Yeah, I got rid of the whole lot in an hour and 3/4. Everything. That was even all of the stuff of the passing of her father, the hate and resentment towards the mother, the whole being abandoned and being palmed off to the families that either side. Oh, it just went on and on and on and on. There was so much around it, but I cleared it all. And then the next day, she felt unbelievable. The messages I got from her the next morning, I think 10 to 7 in the morning, I'm getting messages from her. I'm like,
that's awesome.
It was great.
Changed her world.
Totally changed her world.
But that sort of thing is what triggers people, and they don't realise it can be that small. It doesn't have to be a big thing like a massive argument with someone or seeing something. It's usually small things like that trigger our past,
It's a chain of events, isn't it? That will just your subconscious will link to.
It links the chain of event. It links the memories to the trigger, and the trigger, as soon as you see or feel or hear it, it fires it off. But it's normally something really small. It's very rarely something really big. One of my clients' triggers was hearing the car door click shut. That was it. As soon as you heard the car door click shut, she felt alone.
Yeah.
That's completely random. God knows how her brain anchored that to her. But as soon as you heard that, they can also trigger lots of different things, and we don't realise that these are things that cause a problem. The trigger, and once you find the trigger, then like I've just treated a client recently and having loads and loads of anxiety because of a current situation, but actually the current situation is actually triggering the past time she had anxiety, and thought she'd got rid of it and resolved it, but she could never understand why she kept coming back. So this recent period, the feeling of anxiety kept triggering the past. So it was actually the sensation of the anxiety kept triggering the past times when she was anxious, and then she kept going, why am I anxious? Why did I get so anxious? And kept reliving the past again. So I had to switch off all the past memories of where the anxiety, when she had anxiety in the past, so that she then understood why she had anxiety. And then we come back to now, and then she's not feeling that way about the past anymore.
Yeah.
So that the problem is that you can have sensations in your body that trigger, but that now thing is a fantastic example of how something so small can trigger us.
Honestly, it was incredible. I mean, it was just from that.
And
she went from being on cloud.
World
yeah,
by doing
I know I have.
Incredible.
I know
just from clearing, having your nails done.
Well,
It's insane when you think about it.
Well, I haven't cleared the trigger. I didn't have enough time, so I haven't done cleared the trigger of the nails, but I've cleared all of the past trauma, everything's all gone. So I'm seeing her tomorrow, and I will. That's my number one thing we're going to do. That's number one thing. I know I've got to do that, but she's amazing. I think she's going to do a video for me soon as well. So
fantastic.
So I'm really pleased about that. And so, but yeah, and the other thing I thought we haven't talked about is we did our Law of Attraction talk on Monday.
We did a different place, a different venue.
Yes,
more people. It was absolutely packed again. It was full. It was good. And it was probably actually our best one so far.
I think
so. It went really, really well, and we had lots of really great feedback.
You've had a number of people call you from that for their own issue. We talk about law of attraction, but I've had several people contact me for help. So and as well as teaching them the blocks, how to remove the blocks for law of attraction, we've also been able to help them as well. So
because we do on the talk, we do teach a basic version of the DTO system to clear some shame and guilt.
Yeah,
and we had quite a few people, really respond to that and really get a result from doing that. And I've had someone someone's contacted me and she started doing it on herself already and already noticed a shift. Just doing a little bit on herself. Yes, she's booked in to see me, but she's already started doing it on herself and realised, oh wow, this actually works.
Yeah.
And so that's great because that's why we do it. We want people to get the shift. And this lady has some big traumas, some massive traumas. These are not simple things to get rid of.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, she's already had a shift just by doing that. So that was a real success.
Yeah, and Jackie was amazing. Jackie, if you do listen, Jackie, we're so grateful for these events that you put on and getting us along to them. And you're such a wonderful soul, and she does so much for the whole well-being. And she's brilliant. She's a great networker as well. So thank you, Jackie, and we really appreciate what you do for us. And long may it continue. So
right. What we're doing today?
Anger. So, we're going to do anger today.
Anger.
So episode 14, the topic is anger. And so, for me, I want to discuss anger in this podcast in a bit more detail. So, the key thing is, first and probably foremost, is why we have it. Why we experience it. What triggers it. What damage does anger cause to us physically. And why we really want to switch it off. Now, from a personal perspective, up until around about I'm going to say a bit longer than that actually. Up until about 2014, I had my anger was off the scale. I was angry about everything. I was angry to the point where it was like my default setting, and so I can resonate a lot with anger issues. Now, if you knew what I'd been through, you could understand why, because it's just what I'd learned and how to deal and cope and manage with it. So I have a real shift now, because right now, after doing all the work that I've done, it's really difficult for me to I don't get angry. I'm like, I might get irate about things, but I just don't get angry anymore.
You don't get angry like you used to. You used to get really quiet. aggressively
psychotically angry.
Angry,
absolutely.
Yes. And your photo used to match that.
Yeah. But I don't have that anymore. So I think this is a really good podcast because I have a really good understanding of it, and I do now. But what the point I'm making is that I used to think it was who I was.
Yeah.
And so we're going to cover in the next sort of half an hour or so a bit more detail about anger and why it's there and what happens. So I don't know if you want to probably elaborate a little bit more on it. So one of the things is that people think they need it. They need it to do things. And they have it as a form of motivation. So
yep.
So do you want to crack on and
It's a common thing. People think they need anger to say what they need to say or have their power, or and we kind of sometimes learn anger as a bit of a coping strategy to deal with things. And some people, as you said, think it's their identity. They just think it's they're an angry person.
It's who I am.
It's who I am. They view themselves as an angry person. And some people, they're angry at the world most of the time. Most people they're expressing their anger towards others, and that's where the big misconception comes in. We're not really angry at other people ever. That's very, very rare. Most of the time, we're just angry at ourselves. So a bit maybe you're not quite used to hearing that, but you're going to be going, no, I'm really angry at the other person. Well, actually, not really. When we do DTO and you get down to the root of it, you're actually generally angry at yourself, and what's underneath that is more guilt and shame anyway. Yes. It's not so much anger.
Well, that's the trigger.
So anger really is not the thing to be switching off. Most people try and switch anger off, and we don't.
Anger management. Sustaining and manage your anger.
That's right. And people try and deal with the anger, but the anger is actually not the issue. You've got to go to the guilt and shame or the alone response that's actually underneath the anger, and that's actually one of the bigger responses under the anger, which is the alone response. But we're not aware that that's there. We just project the anger. The anger is just a projection. It's an emotion that we project onto others or sometimes ourselves. You've heard me talk about I used to get angry dropping my keys, and I would get really, really frustrated and angry dropping my keys, and I've switched that off now, and it's sort of laughable. But I wasn't really angry at the keys. I was just, I had other emotions going. It was all about myself, because the keys weren't really doing anything. Bless them. I was the one dropping them. I mean, they weren't doing anything. But so many people, you see people walk around, and I used to be an angry person, not quite to the extent I wasn't psychotically angry, but you were. But I was. I used to be fairly angry myself. And it was more angry at myself that I wasn't doing this, I wasn't doing that. I would project it on other people, but it was more about myself.
Yeah, for me, it was I can't. So here's it's in that language. I can't.
Yes,
I can't. It's I. Yeah. I can't control that situation. I can't get what I want. I can't control the outcome. It's not going the way I want.
That's right.
It's all about I. And so when you know that it's all about I, then the anger's ultimately about you.
Yes.
So once I learned that, but again with it's about really I find it's more about the emotional response about yourself in the situation, because you haven't got the tools or the ability to deal or manage the situation or what's going on.
Yes, right.
Better.
Yeah. And I had a client recently who suffering with OCD and anxiety, and one of the things that triggered when something didn't go her way or something wasn't working, she would get angry. And we switched all that off in a couple of sessions, just that little piece. And so she doesn't get angry anymore, but it was about her. And she said not being able to cope with it, not being able to deal with it, not being able to control it. And that's the thing, it is actually all about ourselves. It's not about what's going on around us. And what most people do is they just get very angry, but they never actually ask themselves, well, what does this mean about me?
Yeah.
Or, and that's the best question to ask. When you're feeling a negative emotional response, whatever it is, and we're talking about anger, but whatever it is, ask yourself what it means to me, what it means to you or about you, because that will help you find the root of it. And often once you understand, or you start to understand it's actually about you, that's when you can start to release it and let go of it, because you're becoming aware of what you're actually feeling. A lot of people, they become aware of their emotions. They know they're angry, they know they're frightened, but actually that's the wrong thing to become aware of. You're not actually aware, because you're only aware of the emotional response.
You're just responding.
And you're responding to the emotional response. You're not aware of actually what's underneath it, which is what you really need to do to get rid of it. Now, some people out there, they think they like being angry. They think they like being angry in the world. And I've actually seen people in certain places where we go, and you can see they're very angry people. and they think that the world is doing something to them, something negative, and that's sometimes where my anger came from. I was like, the world's getting me.
That was like exactly that. For me, because of obviously all the things, the traumas, the pains, the sufferings, as through my life.
Yeah.
I had my default setting was to be that I'm unlucky. All this shit keeps happening to me.
Yeah.
Everyone's out of order. I'm powerless to do anything about it. So the world's a shitty place, and I'm angry at the world. But when you get into it, and when we actually now worked through it, then it wasn't really the world.
Well, the thing is that the vibration of anger is it's not a great vibration at all in the body.
Yeah.
And although it's not about the anger, the actual vibration of anger is not good. And obviously, when you vibrate in anger, you just end up attracting back angry people. In fact, I used to date a lovely girl, and she's still one of my best friends to this day. And when I first met her, she was angry. And she said to me once, she said, why do I keep attracting people to have a go at me? Because she kept attracting bosses or friends who kept having a go at her. And I said to her, it's because you're angry inside. And she was the sort of person who suppressed her anger. So there are two types of people generally with anger. There's the person who's always expressing anger at everyone and everything, which is you.
Yeah.
And there's more me that does it the other way, which used to suppress the anger. And that's why I get angry at my keys, because I'll lay down my keys. And she was more a suppression person, and she was finding people when she moved down here would just have a go at her for no reason, because she hadn't done anything in that moment. In the moment that she's talking about, she'd not done anything, but they were getting angry at her, and that's because she was suppressing her anger. And once we switched that off for her, I didn't have DTO back then, I was doing something else, but once we changed that, then she stopped attracting it, and she doesn't attract that now at all.
Yeah.
So she was able to recognise it in her once I, expressed it, because she asked me the question, so I was honest with her. We was able to change that. And the point is, you're not meant to be angry. I'm
proof of it, mate.
Yeah, you are total proof of it. Yeah, you are.
I'm totally proof of it.
Yeah.
I still get a little bit irate in the car.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
But that's about as far as it goes.
Yeah.
It really is about as far as it goes now. And it's a really nice place to live from.
You're much more peaceful.
I can actually remember the time when when I first started. We started working together, and it was one of the key things. I knew it was a problem for me, and I think it was about 2 or 3 months into working with you, and I switched off the anger when we actually switched off one of the big kick things for anger, and it felt like someone had scooped a massive scoop out of my soul.
I remember you saying, we was in the coffee shop, weren't you? You said it scooped out.
It's like scooped out like a half of my body, the whole energy, just like, it was amazing. And it was for the first time in my life I can actually ever remember not having angry thoughts, angry feelings, angry response. It was the most weirdest, but yet most amazing fun. And obviously the more that we've got worked on, the less and less and less it's gone off. But to not have it was just, I can't tell you, it was just amazing. But
it feels horrible in the body to be angry. We don't like it. And if you are a very angry person, you are. You may be used to it, and it may feel comfortable for you. But there are some people out there, which is where Stephen was. But some people out there like me, I went down a spiritual path. And, I learnt that being angry doesn't work. So when I would get angry, I'd beat myself up about it. Oh, I'm not supposed to get angry, and I shouldn't be like this, I should be better. So I then had extra beliefs that made me beat myself, and then I felt guilty and ashamed that I was getting angry. Now, we're not saying that anger is not a natural response. It is. So don't misunderstand us. Anger is a natural response under certain situations. Because, yes, sometimes people do things that make us angry. But you shouldn't carry the anger for years or months or even days. It should be gone in a day or two. Me and Steve did get a little bit angry at this thing on the other night, but we let it go the next day. I was fine the next day. I was just pissed off in the moment.
It was funny because all the way home I was prodding you and getting you.
You was just prodding me just to tease me to get me angry about it. For some reason, Steve thinks it's funny when I get angry.
It was because it was so funny because you went off on a roll. You was on a roll and you went into a full breakdown of the things that annoyed you from these speakers because they were talking, alleged nonsense, especially the Ayurvedic woman. Don't get me started. So this is the thing with language. People don't listen to so when people learn something, they don't actually understand what they've learned and listen to what they're saying. So there was this lady, she wasn't even one of the original speakers, she was like a joker wild
speaker.
Card,
a wild card speaker. and she stood up to talk about Ayurvedic medicine. Yeah. Now, before anyone writes in, I am not an expert in Ayurvedic. I can't even say it.
Yeah. Ayurvedic
medicine, and I'm not an expert in it. But I'm recanting what she said. So she got up and she said that what she did, and then she said a few years back she discovered this new Ayurvedic medicine, and that first threw me because I was like, well, Ayurvedic medicine's been around before traditional
7,000 years or so?
Whatever it is, it's been before traditional medicine, so it's definitely not new.
Yeah. So
she didn't understand what she's talking about from that point of view. And the second thing she did made me just cringe, because she obviously didn't understand what she was saying, but she's trying to impart knowledge on people, which is, when they say a little bit of knowledge is very dangerous, that's basically where this lady was. And don't get me wrong, we all make mistakes. We're all learning. When I learned, I made mistakes, and I do get that. But what this lady said was, she said that Ayurvedic medicine basically trace everything back to the emotions and how we feel about things.
And both me and you, didn't we? We went, oh,
that's good.
Here we go. Got someone talking sense.
Going here. But then she said, so what we do is we use nutrition to heal the body. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, but you've just said it comes from the emotions, and now you're trying to use nutrition. That's like trying to knock a nail in with a slipper. Well, surely you have to
deal with the
emotions, because the nutrition is.
I feel very carroty today, mate.
Exactly. and she said it twice as well in a different way, and for some reason she really had it in her head that by using nutrition you can deal with the emotional response, and that's bollocks. You actually can't. Now, I'm not saying that nutrition doesn't work and doesn't make you feel healthier. What we're saying is, if you're having an emotional response to something, nutrition,
a carrot and a portion of chips ain't going to sort it out.
No, it's not. I'm sorry. Changing your diet is not going to change the emotional response.
This is my issue with gyms and all the people using, I haven't got an issue with gyms, but people going to the gym because they've depressed or they're anxious, they need to change a life change or an emotional life change, and drinking more water or changing their diet. And we talk about this every week, but there's a really great example of
it's a great example of someone who just did not hear what she said. It's completely illogical what she said, makes no sense, and it's completely wrong. You're not going to do it. If you want to change the emotional response, you have to go after the emotions. Yeah. That surely is really logical. I don't know why people can't grasp that concept.
Well, you wouldn't go after an emotional response if you were hungry.
No, exactly. That's right. You wouldn't. No, that's a good point.
Yeah.
I'm really starving. What should I do? I'll think about my anger.
Yeah.
You wouldn't.
I'm gonna have a good old cry.
And then I'll feel better. That's a good point. That makes very lot of sense. Well done, Steve. That's a good analogy. But it is true. We don't do that. But we are trained, unfortunately, these days that you can't heal emotional responses. Yeah. So everyone is looking for a way to heal them that doesn't change the emotional response.
But it goes back to the inside-out effect. Everyone's looking for something external to sort your internal problems
and
out.
You cannot do that. You've got to sort the inside out. You've got to sort the inside out first, and then the outside will correct itself. Everything else will just fall into place naturally. Yeah. You will naturally want to do exercise. You will naturally want to eat well. You will naturally want to go for walks in the sunshine, but while the internal response is still running, you'll be blocked to doing it. You won't do it as often.
You'll sabotage it,
and you'll sabotage. You'll do it for a couple of weeks,
everything,
and then you feel like won't doing it. Yeah. A guy came and saw me the other day, and he's actually a really big, muscly guy. He's about you and me put together twice, and he said, "I'm just not exercising. I'm not going to the gym." I said, basically, it came down to the fact that the response he's having about a situation in his life, his response was, "I'm weak." So when you actually think you're weak about a scenario in your life, when your micro belief is I'm weak or I'm not strong enough, your body then feels weak and it doesn't want to exercise.
Yeah, so the belief of being weak leads to the behaviour
of being weak. So you don't exercise, you don't do this, you don't do that, because you feel weak emotionally.
And this is where all these inspirational talkers or inspirational people or all this inspired stuff goes wrong, is because, and these coaches that say you have to push through that.
Yes, that's right.
You've got to push through that,
Yeah.
You've got to get motivated. No, you've got to switch off what's demotivating you. Don't get motivated, because when you switch off what's demotivating you, then you'll just do it. You won't have to get motivated.
Yeah. Or you won't necessarily have to do that because you'll just feel strong anyway.
Yeah.
A lot of the reasons people exercise is they don't feel strong. So they think, I'll exercise to feel strong. But feeling strong is actually a feeling.
Yeah.
It's not actually it's not about strength. Yeah. It's actually a feeling. You can get stronger, yes, by exercising, but the feeling of being strong is actually just an emotional response. You can feel strong just generally walking around in the world today. It's an actual emotional response, feeling strong.
Yeah, a lot of people that I know do it because they're insecure. First and foremost, the people that I know, they're very insecure, and so therefore they have to go and get and
train themselves up.
Yeah, train themselves up. And the other thing that does it is they're not really doing it; they're just doing it for image. They just want to just
that's the insecurity, isn't it?
Well, it is insecurity, but it's the image.
Sadly, that's what a lot of the world is today: is image and insecurity, and you can see it everywhere. People's trying to look good and be good.
But deep down inside, they're absolutely rotten and falling apart.
Basically, and that's the problem. Whereas if they actually change their inside, they would feel secure, safe, and they would look. One of my clients the other day, she didn't like the way she looked, so one of her triggers for her anxiety was actually looking down at her thighs. Not actually looking in the mirror so much, a little bit, but it was actually her looking down at her thighs going, oh, I'm fat. And as soon as I switched it off, she didn't bother. But what she was trying to do was trying to change her look. But as soon as she changed that, she actually looked prettier. As soon as she changed that negative response about herself, her energy changed and she became prettier. She became more attractive. Because when someone is confident in who they are and they're secure in who they are, that is attractive.
Yeah.
That's what makes you look good.
Yeah.
Not.
Well, I think it's more about it's because I'm a very, very, very. I'm going to say very a few more times. I'm a very, very, very strong advocate of like attracts like.
Yeah.
Absolutely, 100%. And
yes.
I'm yet really in my analysis to. And my own personal experience, because when I was really angry and shitty and the sort of person I was, they're the people I had, and now I'm attracting. So like attracts like, and so when we do switch off this stuff, we will attract
better people,
and the people
that
we want. But if we're running anxiety, depression, anger, resentment, hate, jealousy,
that's what we attract.
That's what we attract.
The majority of the time.
I'm pretty much, yeah.
And we attract. You and me both have started attracting happier people, nicer people, friendlier people in our lives. Whereas before, I'm not saying we didn't have those people in our lives, but we then encounter people who would do the opposite.
Well, no, I had all these people in my lives. In your lives? Yeah, I've got.
How many
damn,
lives?
I let the cat out of the bag.
Yes.
There's 9 of them.
9 lives. Damn it. That was quick. So he's getting quicker.
I'm getting quicker.
Yeah. You're on form today.
I am, yeah. No, so I did have these people in my life.
Yeah.
But because of where I was at, they weren't in my life.
Ah, right, yes.
You with me? I knew them.
You knew,
I knew of them. I'd say hello to them.
Yeah.
But they weren't part of my life. No. They were just somebody that I met and knew through different sports or different events, because over the years I've been quite an active little busy bee and I know a lot of people. Yeah. But I knew so many people, but I had really nobody in my life. And now the ones that weren't good for me have disappeared. And now all those people that I did know have all of a sudden come into my life. So, and that's why I say I'm a very, very strong advocate of like attracts like.
Yeah.
And so, and that's my evidence today. Right now, I've got people like you, and the clients that I have as well, because I've attracted them. I mean, Rebecca's an amazing lady, and
she's lovely.
She's great, and the list is just growing and growing and growing. But that's it's because the more I've switched off personally, the more now I'm no longer carrying any of that stuff, and now obviously I'm just having much more better relationships with people, full stop, and that's actually available to anybody if they want it, really.
And that's the beauty of switching off your anger. You attract better relationships. So if you are attracting angry people, and you are thinking, oh, everyone's angry, everyone's a bastard, everyone rips me off, everyone does this, then somewhere inside
it's part of me, it's who I am.
But somewhere inside you're running that energy.
Yeah.
And you're running either anger because you suppressed it, or you're angry on the outside, or something is running in you to attract these people to you. And that can be changed by switching off the response in you. It will change the people around you.
Yeah, and we're not switching off the anger. This is the thing that we need you to understand. It's not the anger that we're switching off. It's the learnings that drive the anger. So the anger is the response of something else, and we find what it is that's causing the anger.
Find what's underneath it, which is either guilt, shame, an alone response,
or a belief,
or a learning about people. Yeah. You might have a learning that all people are bastards.
Richard, brilliant. Go on, carry on. I was going to say, because this goes on to the thing that I was talking to you about why I had it.
Yeah. Go on, tell them.
Yeah, because for me, through my own upbringing and through my own personal circumstances, and the fact that because I felt I was always being attacked all the time, as far as I can remember back. If you look through my whole, which we worked on, all the stuff through my childhood, all through my school, after school, I was being attacked. People were attacking me and taking my things away, and I never knew why. But what I come to realise was that that over a period of time, I used anger as a defence mechanism.
Right.
So to prevent people attacking me, I would always be angry. Because if I was angry, it would prevent people or scare people or make people wary to not attack me because they were frightened of how I'd react or what potentially I could do. So whether or not it was a fake persona, absolutely 100%.
Yep.
But the problem is that because I was running that energy, I was attracting more of it.
Yes, right.
So the thing that I was trying to use to prevent it
was actually
attracting more and more and more of it. And then because I had that as a belief, I'd end up acting more angry. And more angry because I think, well, this ain't working. People are still attacking
so
me. So I get angrier.
Brilliant.
So yeah, I'll scare everybody, and everyone will leave me alone. I just want to be left alone.
And did they leave you alone?
No, it didn't. And it just got to the point, obviously, several years ago, where I just realised, like I said on Monday, everything I'd learned, everything I'd become, everything I'd learned, everything I thought I needed to be, how to act, how to show up, how to act in a relationship, how to act in business, how to be as a person. I've come to realise that absolutely none of it worked.
Yeah.
And that's why my life wasn't working, because that was what was driving it. Now, when I had that realisation and I was able to go, right, that's it, stop, life, stop the button. Press the stop button. It's like pressing the emergency stop button. Yeah. That was in 2016 after my other half took my boy to Ireland.
Yeah.
That's when I said, right, this is not working. Whoever I am, whatever, nothing's working on any level. And that's when I had the realisation that was, hang on a minute, this isn't about my ex-business partner, this isn't about my ex-relationships, this isn't about my ex's mum hating me, this isn't about the boy, this is about me.
Yeah.
Because I'm present in every single situation. It has to be about me. Yes. When I got that realisation, as much as I didn't like it, that's when I then started doing the work and looking to find out how to change me.
Yeah.
That was the catalyst, because in less than 3.5 years, I've gone from that to wanting to end my life to now. But it's key because it fundamentally was all caused by anger.
Yeah.
All of it was, for me, everything was anger. And that's what was causing all of my problems. But now I've switched all of that anger off, and my life's working on a different level. So I just wanted to just say that, because I did use it as a defence mechanism. It was a defence mechanism to prevent myself getting hurt.
Yeah. See, now I've not heard of that as a coping strategy before. I've cleared it in different ways, but I've not heard that as a strategy before.
Yeah.
But it is very relevant what you said. I've always learnt that whenever you have a problem, you are the one who's always there.
Yeah.
And that statement's always been in my head. So whenever you're having a problem with someone, you're the common denominator. Whoever's listening to this. So you may say that 20 people are getting angry at you, but they might be 20 different people. You are the common denominator. You're always in that scenario. And when I learnt that, when I understood that and I really got that whenever I had a problem, I was the one who was always there. I was a common denominator. Then it sort of fell into place. But I didn't have the way to switch it off until I found DTO. And I got to that point where I also learned, right, everything I'm doing is not working.
Yes.
I had that same realisation before I did Reboot. Nothing I'm doing is working. Nothing I know is working. Nothing I've been taught is working. So I need to do something different. And then when I surrendered to that, that's when I came up with DTO. Yeah. But it wasn't until I surrendered to that moment. And at that point, I was resisting a lot. I was resisting letting go of what I thought I'd learned.
Because it was your identity.
Because it was my identity.
Yeah.
Especially some of the therapists I'd learned, because they're all great therapists, and don't misunderstand me, I've learned some very cool things.
Yeah.
And they still are very cool. But it wasn't about them being cool or not. It's about whether they were working for me. And what I say to people is, it's not about whether the thing works. It's about whether it works for you. It will work for some people. Everything will work on some level. And what I've done over the years is I've learned and understood why things work, how they work, and why they're not working.
Why they're not working, yeah.
And I need to do that for my own business. But a lot of people don't really understand that, so that's where they get stuck. So they can't understand why nutrition works for one person but not someone else. They can't understand why acupuncture works for one person but not someone else.
Or just talk therapy.
Or just talk therapy works for some people, or talk therapy works in one way because it helps you get over your drugs.
It got me over in my drug addiction.
A few weeks ago, but it didn't help the rest of it.
No, it actually, in some ways, it sort of made it worse, because all I kept doing was going back and talking about the things that were making me feel so bad.
Yes.
And I'd come out of there feeling so bloody bad.
That's right. But in one way, it did help you realise something, and it flipped the switch in your brain, and you realise you don't need to do drugs anymore.
Yes, I mean that was in 6 weeks.
Yeah,
I mean and not only did I that realisation that of doing the drugs, I mean I was in a bad place, and I know why I was doing it. So I just couldn't I didn't want to be me. I hated me so much that when I was me without it, I was ripping up inside. So it would be drinking, it would be drugs, it was gambling, anything to get a sort of a hit of excitement to get me away from me.
Yeah.
And that was something that had been going on in most of my life, and most of my life. And I'd also got to say that I'd got rid of it in 6 weeks.
Which is incredible. From a talk therapy, that's amazing.
From a talk therapy, yeah.
Yeah.
But then all the other stuff it didn't work with.
No, and that's the thing. I always wanted to know why something works, why it's not working, because I would get people come to me with, for those who don't know, I started off, healing just chronic pain, and I get 20 people come to me with sciatic pain, and 18 times I'll be able to get it better doing it one way, and the next 2 times that wouldn't work. And I want to know why. I'm not dismissive and go, oh, well, they just don't want to heal, or oh, it's just one of those things. I would always want to know why. So I spent a long time learning why things work and don't work, or trying to understand it. But I could never understand why I couldn't quite heal myself, or what's the root of my problems. And everything I was taught was actually not working for me. So we're not putting things down. If it's worked for you, that's brilliant. When we say work, we mean the problem no longer exists.
Yeah.
I want to clarify that.
You're completely healed from it.
Yeah, so if we're talking about anger, so if what you've done has actually worked, you're not an angry person anymore. You're not maintaining it or controlling it. You're not counting to 5 when you feel angry. You're not imagining sheep.
Getting really, really angry, then not acting out on it and going, well, no, I've dealt with that. I've dealt with my anger issue.
You're not suppressing it. You're actually just not an angry person anymore. So when we talk about something that works, we mean the problem goes and it doesn't come back again. That's what working for you should mean. But these days, everyone thinks that coping with it's working for you. But if what you have done has worked and it's completely resolved the issue, that is fantastic. We're saying, what do you do when it hasn't worked? And that's when everything I tried, all the techniques I'd learned wasn't completely working. I had to find something else because I was angry. I was still running fears and insecurities. And
well, I think if you look at prison, how many people are probably in prison because in that one moment they lost their temper, got angry, reacted to it, and it's probably not who they are. No. And Derek. Yeah. I can't believe it. He's never been angry. He's never been like that. I've never knew him to be angry. Yeah. But the thing is, with the trigger that causes you to act out, and then all of a sudden your life is
over.
Your life
has changed dramatically, and that's the thing.
It's like over, isn't it? Having your freedom, losing your freedom,
and that's the thing. When you get angry, if you're not, if it's a rare occurrence, but you just spike.
I would say that if the anger it becomes more increased than the ability to control it.
Yes, that's right, yeah.
So if you've got a control threshold that's X and your anger response is X plus 1, you're in trouble.
Yeah, it's when it tips over that scale, tips over that balance, and that anger goes outside of your awareness and you can't bring yourself back. Yeah. That's when it affects your whole world.
Absolutely.
It alters your personality, it alters your relationships because people are scared of you, and can ultimately result in something as severe as prison.
Yeah.
Or hurting somebody.
Yeah.
And I actually had a guy come to me once, and bless him, he developed a brain tumour, and he realised that in the last few months of his life that what he'd done was wrong, and he'd hurt a lot of people, and he was a very angry person, and we know where the anger came from, and we did start switching some things off because he wanted to heal and get better. Tragically, he did pass away from that a couple of years ago, but in that moment when he became ill, he realised what he'd done. He realised that actually he was a very angry person, and it wasn't the way he behaved. He was not happy with that. And a lot of people, they don't realise it sometimes, it's too late, that actually they don't like the way they're behaving. They think that's who they are, nothing can change it, but actually they don't like how they feel. Even people who are angry constantly, they don't really like how they feel.
Well, I think
they've got used to it.
I think anybody that experiences negative feelings or emotions don't like it,
no.
But they just do it because I don't think they know that it can be changed, or B, they haven't got the motivation to be changed, and then all of a sudden they'll go for their life 20, 30, 40 years being miserable, angry, or whatever it would be, and then all of a sudden they'll get a realisation that actually, that's my life over.
Yeah, that's right.
And I've been miserable the whole thing, and I've got one crack at life, and I've just been angry and miserable. Yeah, well done. That was a smart choice, and then ultimately they then want to try and make amends or try and remove it, but by that time, the biggest chunk of your good years, of the great years of your life where you can have fun and have great relationships and go and do places, you've missed out on because of the negative programs that run in the background that stop you from living life, and it's a great shame. But what we do, that can be stopped as young as 14, 15, 16 upwards, or even younger.
Yeah, and one of the other blocks that is more subtle that many people are not aware of is that when you are running a negative response like anger or something like that, actually feeling happy can have a negative response on you. So I've actually switched off some feelings for people. They felt happier, and as soon as they felt happy, that feeling happy triggered them to go back to feeling negative again because they weren't used to it. So it felt uncomfortable to feel happy. And
that's a really sad state of affairs, isn't it?
And that is quite sad, and that is a problem. And it's just another trigger. You can switch it off, but those are the complex people.
Yeah.
Those are people where you actually have to switch off the positive feeling. Someone that I know, we switched off a load of things for, and then something happened and triggered her back, and she perceives now that the happy feeling was the thing that created it. That being happy is dangerous and it creates more bad things. So she's staying stuck and being miserable. She doesn't realise she's still creating more miserable things, and the happy feeling was not what created it. But she's now got that belief in her brain.
Well, if you think about...
So she's now running away from being happy.
Yeah, if you think about the lady at the event, when she said, if you've got 50% for everything good that happens, 50% bad that happens.
That's right,
So if you're going to have... If happiness is going to be your good, you'll go, oh, hang on a minute.
Yeah.
I don't want that, because if I'm being happy, then I know that the other 50 is going to go bad.
That's
so
right.
you then suppress it or not be happy, and that's now a problem.
And then what happens in the unconscious mind would prefer to be miserable all the time than be happy 50% of the time and then have it go backwards.
Yes.
And the unconscious doesn't like that. So that's a really complex person, but it can all be switched off. It's not real. It's a belief in the brain. It's just something that you've learned and believed, and it's not actually real. But yes, you can sabotage your own happiness because you're so used to being miserable or angry in this particular case.
Sounds like someone very close to me.
Yeah.
I know a few people like that.
Hello, I'm very close to you. What is that? So what we're trying to say is that you don't have to be an angry person, and if you are and you keep attracting angry people or negative situations, you don't know why. It's because you are running something.
Yeah.
And the reason we're telling you this is because some people out there who are listening do not want to feel that way. There are some people out there who listen to this who don't actually want to be angry. They just don't know it can be changed. So we're trying to help you see that it can be changed, and that we do change it on a daily basis.
And a lot of people think it's okay to be angry.
Yeah,
and it's not really.
No, it is okay in the moment.
No,
but not 2 days, 3, 4, 4 weeks, a year later.
Not as a paradigm.
Not as a person.
Yeah,
it's okay to get angry.
Be grumpy and miserable and angry all the time. Well, that's all right. That's who I am. I don't think that works.
That's not healthy for the person experiencing it. Going
on to healthy. We've got about 9 minutes, I suppose. 8 minutes.
8 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just wanted to do this.
I'm quite angry about the fact I got that time wrong. You should have got that right. I can't believe you did that. It's just not working, is it, Karen?
Yeah. Yes,
so no,
I was just wondering how to frame the question. So you deal with a lot of people with pain.
Yes,
and I would imagine, not having dealt with the pain issues in the period of time that you have, but I would obviously suggest that the anger, what effect does that have on an individual's organs, their body, or their general health? Does it have an immediate impact? Can it cause problems?
So if you really think about it, whenever we do get angry, what happens? Our shoulders go up. As soon as we get angry, our body tenses, it tightens, and when it tightens, it's actually compressing inwards. So you're actually kind of compressing the body in. It's not expanding outwards.
Right.
It's kind of shrinking in. And of course, when we compress our body, that's when we compress all the organs, the muscles, they get tighter. And so the anger actually has a massive effect on our bodies. And now, from a Chinese perspective, not that I'm an expert in Chinese medicine, again, I'm not.
Unfortunately, you're an expert in Chinese, though.
Yeah, I'm an expert in Chinese. Well, I'm not an expert. I'm an expert in sweet and sour, but not the whole Chinese range.
I've never known a man go to a Chinese buffet and have 4 plates of the same stuff.
Yeah, I'm a creature of habit, and I like me sweet and sour. What can I say? It's all right.
But anyway.
If I have anything else, it makes me angry. No, I'm joking. It doesn't. No, that's just. But when from a Chinese perspective, anger hits the liver. If there's any Chinese medicine people in, and I've not got that quite right, it affects other areas, I'm just generalising, okay? But anger affects the liver from a Chinese perspective. Frustration, bitterness, things like that. Those are all angry type responses. Hatred. And so when that happens, the liver controls a lot of different functions. But it also affects neck and shoulder pain. And some people can store anger in the liver, and it can create neck and shoulder pain from a Chinese perspective. But anger can kind of exist everywhere. When I look at pain, I don't really look for the emotional response. I look for the biological response, because if someone comes with shoulder pain, I go, "What are you angry about?" They could be angry about a million things, but not the million things will be causing the pain. But the emotional response is in there somewhere, and it does make us tight, makes us tense. Same as fear, does the same thing, contracts us. But the anger is just contracting us. And even though it might make us come out fighting, we're contracted with it. We're not expansive with it. So it has a massive impact on the organs, because it contracts the organs as well, and then they squash. So if you think of your lungs squash, you can't breathe properly. If your digestive system squashes, you can't digest things properly, and so the food gets stuck and clogged, and you end up feeling with heartburn and things like that, because your body cannot allow things to digest. So then what we all do is we then try nutrition. Yeah. We then alter our diet to allow our body to digest. But unfortunately, the anger is compressing our digestive system. So that's actually it's not the nutrition that's the problem. Yeah. It's the anger that's squashing our body and keeping it contracted, that squashes the digestive system, and now the food can't go through. Ulcerative colitis is actually an angry, indigestible conflict. It's something you cannot digest that made you angry. And any kind of bleeding from the body, it also is anger, it being expressed. So one of our
that's friends... That's why I used to get nosebleeds then, probably as a kid.
That's why you get nosebleeds.
Rife with them as a child, from the age of about 7 upwards to about 15. And I had nosebleeds all the time.
Yeah, and were you an angry child?
Me? Right, yeah. I would say so, exactly. Considering what I went through,
And so I was about to say, one of our mutual friends used to have nosebleeds, used to get told off for having nosebleeds, and he was just very angry as a child. So if there's any kind of bleeding going on, then that is a sign that there's anger somewhere in your system, and by switching that off, you can just switch off the bleeding.
The one thing I did learn, which was that we had a conversation some time ago, and we talked about how it affects the bronchi when you're getting angry. Yeah. And every time I was ill, I'd either get a chest infection or I'd get chest pains. Everything went to my chest all the time. Yeah. Now that makes sense. Now you said, because now one makes two, and now I know why I used to get it.
Now you know why.
And it was quite funny, because I was looking for a venue for us to do a talk, and I went into a local place, and there was a lady working behind the bar there, and one of the waitresses come out and was chatting away, and she said, and she started coughing. She goes, "Oh, my chest." She goes, "Oh," I said, "You all right, my dear?" Like that, and she said, "Oh no, I've caught that cold that's going about." I said, "Oh no, you didn't catch a cold." I said, "You don't catch colds." I said, so I really put it out there. So I said to her,
That's brave of you. That's brand new information, people. I can hear people's heads exploding right now.
So I said to her, I said, she goes, "Oh, my chest is all gone at my chest." I said, "All right." I said, "So when so 3 or 4 days ago, did you get really angry with someone?" She just looked at me and went, "Yeah, I did." I said, "That's why you've got it."
Yeah.
I said, "It's because you got really angry with someone 3 or 4 days ago and it's hit your chest." And she just went, "That's amazing. How did you know that?"
Exactly. That's right. When you say it to people, they
couldn't believe it.
So if you get chest infections, bronchitis, things like that, it hits a part of your brain where the bronchi exist in your brain, and it's an angry territory issue. It's something in your territory that's made you angry, and it hits your chest, it hits your bronchi. And then what you do is, when you feel better, when you're angry, you're in a stress state. So anger is a stress state. It's a fight and flight state. You're coming out fighting. But a few days later, if it was a severe anger, like really angry, and a few days later or a few weeks, once you start to let it go, you can then get a chest infection. Yeah.
When it goes into repair.
When it goes into repair.
Yeah.
And that's often what happens. One of my clients had bronchitis for a year before he came to see me, and nothing got rid of it. Not traditional medicine, nothing. And although he was sceptical, he's a very logical bloke, he was open because he'd been recommended to me. And we got rid of his bronchitis that would now become chronic because even the highest level of medicine wasn't touching it. And basically it came down to his business partner, who he was sort of moving away from, but he'd had this angry conflict with his territory.
Yes, and I can confirm that, so I've just realised who you're talking about.
There you go, exactly.
Yeah, he did, didn't he?
Yeah, that's right,
Oh, okay.
And what was even more remarkable, he didn't believe me, but after about, I think we resolved that
Didn't he
issue.
get re-triggered? Because we met for a coffee and we see him around Christmas time, didn't we?
That's what I was about to say.
Yeah.
So we think we resolved that issue in about 2.5 months. It was a big issue because it'd been there a year. And there was still a kind of environmental part left. And we went on to work on other things, and he realised the power of this, and we went on to work on other things. And just after Christmas this year, we were sitting down.
I was with you. It was me and you. We were having a coffee.
This guy came up to us and said, "Oh my God, you won't believe what happened last week." This was just after Christmas. I was sitting down. I was outside. And I felt the bronchitis come back a bit and hadn't had it for ages. And my first response was, "Oh, it's because it's cold." And then he went, "Oh, I realised." And he was actually sitting down with the business partner, the ex-business partner, having a coffee with him and hadn't seen him for ages. And because of that, it had re-triggered something slightly in his system. Yeah. And there was still a slight environmental issue left. Yeah. But it re-triggered his system, and he suddenly went, "Oh crap, that's what it was." Yeah. But his first response was to go to the weather, because we're taught the weather causes colds and flus. Now, I get that what we've just said is brand new information, your heads are exploding, but let me just clarify this by saying I've treated loads of colds and flus, viruses, infections in my 20 years of being a therapist and learning this, and I've switched off everything from the common cold to bladder infections to bronchitis to chicken pox.
You did me about 3-4 months ago.
Can you rephrase that?
You cleared my. I was in a really bad way with a. Do you remember I had a really bad chest?
Yep.
Really bad chest.
That's
and
right.
I'd gone into, and you asked me some questions and did it, and I think within about 2 days,
it had gone. Yeah.
It gone.
Yeah, that's right.
Literally gone in 2 days.
Yeah. And that's the thing.
I didn't go to doctors or anything. Just phoned you.
Just phoned you. Well, it's actually quicker. It's actually quicker. You can go to a doctor and take medication for 3 weeks if you like, and put stuff in your body, and maybe it will work, maybe it didn't. In the case of this guy with bronchitis, it didn't work. Yeah. He tried the strength, the maximum strength, nothing worked. Yeah. And if it works, that's great. That's not what we're saying. But I have treated literally everything from viruses, infections, bladder infections, water infections. Yeah. One of my friends and clients the other day used the DTO system to switch off her urinary infection. She does suffer with them, and she's recognising what the root cause is now rather than going to medication, and she's learned a bit of basic DTO. She asked me what the conflict was, went away and cleared it herself. But you can literally clear anything from colds and flus, chest infections, bronchitis, and even I cleared chicken pox for the lady you met the other night at the event.
At the event, yes. She even told me that she got 3 days or something.
2 days we got rid of chicken pox.
And
because she was due to fly to Washington and she needed to be out there, and the doctor had grounded her. That was diagnosed by a doctor, chicken pox, and then she went back to the doctor and he said, "You're cleared to travel now." Yeah. I have no idea what he thought about whether that was possible or not. It must have freaked him out, because 2 days
I bet he was looking around to see if Jeremy Reed was going to come out with cameras and going, Dr. C, you've been
right, exactly.
They'll come in and go.
He must have been in shock, because 2 days on she had spots all over her face and she had chamomile lotion all over her, and the next minute it's gone. Yeah. But actually, colds and flus infections are very simple. But a chest infection, a bronchitis, is caused by anger. It's an anger in your territory, and it often happens to men. It can happen to women, but it's an anger. Women tend to get throat problems more than chest problems. But if women do get chest problems, they have more of a masculine energy. If they get in throat problems, they're more in their feminine. But the chest is actually anger, and it's an anger within your territory. In case you don't know what territory means, it means that. It means anything you perceive as your space. That could be your body, that could be your home, it could be your work, it could be your partner, it could be your children.
It could be your club.
Your club, your golf club, your sports club, whatever it is. Your it's what you perceive as yours. And if it makes you angry, it can hit your bronchi and cause you a chest infection.
So if you think you own the world, you've got problems.
Yeah.
You're going to constantly have
chest infections. Brilliant.
Okay, cool. Well, I think we're an hour up, so I think we'll leave it now. I think we've covered a lot of it, and it's been a good podcast. I've enjoyed this one today. So let's wrap up for today. So if you want to find out a little bit more about the Inside Out Effect, please go to our website, the inside-out-effect.co.uk. On there, you will see our current events, how you can get in touch with Jonathan or myself and any other DTO trained specialists. And if you're looking for your anger to be resolved or any other issue that we've covered, whether it's depression, anxiety, or PTSD or any forms of trauma, or if you're just generally stuck and you can't move forward in life. And also as well, if you're a business specifically, that obviously if you want us to come in and work with your staff so you've got a happier, more efficient, profitable workplace, and you're no longer having people having time off, then please go to our website there. Also, you can contact us directly on the Inside Out Effect email, but there's also the insideouteffect@gmail.com. So if anybody wants to contact us through that. There's also our Facebook group as well.
Yep.
Which is facebook.com Inside Out Effect.
Cool.
We're constantly putting on new content there regularly. We upload all of the podcasts and we interact with people, and you can ask us questions and stuff there as well. So,
yep.
So I think that's probably all the ways. There's other ways, but I'm not going to go through.
There's loads of ways to contact us, but we're out there somewhere. Just find us.
Yeah.
I don't
if you're on YouTube,
our podcast is on iTunes and Stitcher as well.
Yeah,
so if you mentioned that.
Stitcher.
So if you want to listen to us on iTunes and Stitcher, we're on now, and we're great for any feedback and comments. We would love to hear from you if you have questions. That'd be fantastic. And again, as Steve said, please share it with as many people as possible, because me and Steve, we're trying to change a perception. We're trying to change a perception of the world that unfortunately is false and not working right now. But it's a massive perception that people have, and the only way to help is to change that perception. So we want as many people to listen to this as possible.
Yeah, it's like getting re-educated and stop the suffering. There's so much unnecessary pain, hurt, depression, anxiety, trauma, negative feelings, anger. This whole world, this whole negative fear, negative. It doesn't need to be like that.
No,
and I know that.
We just want to end suffering. That's all. We just want to stop you suffering. That's why we're doing
People
this.
be in happier relationships. Their children will be brought up in better environments. People will be a lot happier at work. They won't be blaming their boss. They'll just be generally living happier, healthy lives in every area. If everyone was living like that, imagine how great this world would be.
Yeah, that would be amazing. If people were just happier in themselves and liked who they are, and less angry and less frightened. Fear is another bit. I think we should do fear next time.
Okay, well, I was going to make a suggestion.
Oh, you're going to make a suggestion? What are you going to suggest?
ADHD.
Oh, okay.
Because I was banging on about it on Monday night.
Oh, right, okay.
And we haven't done that.
No, we haven't done that.
Would you like to do that, or would you want to do fear?
I'm not sure, actually. We'll discuss that one.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll talk. We might do both. At some point, we'll do both. We'll do one.
Have you got fear about doing ADHD?
No, ADHD is not my speciality. So I'm not working on ADHD. Did I miss a joke?
Oh,
Sorry, I'm not with it today.
Slow on the uptake.
I'm not with it today, am I? So I'm not really.
No, okay, well, let's do fear then.
Yeah, let's do fear.
Let's do fear
Because I've worked a lot of fear. I've had fear. We've all had fear.
Yeah.
And
it's a paradigm behavioural as well. Everyone does it.
And there is a lot of fear at the moment in this world, and I really want to cover this fear thing because fear is very rife at the moment.
Oh, your friend?
With lots of things, and I just want to dispel this fear myth. I've been frightened of things, and then when I switched it off, I wasn't frightened anymore. So yeah, I'm
going to go into what I learn about fear as well, and the whole programming, the social programming of it, because there's so much I can talk to you about that, because I spent years learning about it.
Yeah, you've got a lot of knowledge about that.
Yeah, I have a lot of knowledge.
Don't know.
Yeah.
And I have an understanding with the DTO system about fear and how it weakens the body and makes us just feel weaker and weaker. So I think fear will be a really big one to cover, because there's so much fear in the world with everything that's going on. And I just want to dispel
Well, is it going on though, or is it just a fear-based projection?
Well, now you're getting really deep. We're up an hour. Don't get too deep.
I know, so I'll save it for the next one.
On the next one.
I'll save it for the next podcast.
Go deeper next time.
Exactly. Right. Okay. Great. So that's us for this week on the Inside Out Effect podcast. Thank you, listeners, and thanks for joining us and listening to two old boys or middle-aged men.
Excuse me. You speak for yourself.
Two young, vibrant.
I'm young and glittery.
Up-and-coming superstars on the world of the internet. No, so thanks. Thanks a lot for listening to us. We really appreciate your time and listening to us. And so that's probably it for me today. Well, not probably. Is it for them? Hello. So over to you, Jonathan.
Start again. Thanks for listening, folks. Stephen's going to shut up now because he's clearly lost the plot. And I'm going to say goodbye. Have a lovely week. I'm actually away next week, so there won't be one for 2 weeks. But we look forward to coming back real soon. Until next time, stay healthy, stay happy, keep smiling, and we'll be back with you very soon.
Yes, we'll see you next week, and thanks again for joining us, and we look forward to speaking to you and communicating with you in the next episode. Goodbye. So goodbye. So goodbye. So goodbye. So goodbye. So